Brockton woman faces charges of theft after police say she stole thousands of dollars from a local booster club and used some of that money to fix her teeth.
53-year-old Shonda McClarty worked as a treasurer for the Tumbling and Acro Boosters Club, which is run by parents of students at the Gymnastics Academy of Rockford. GAR management is not involved in the club and does not manage its operations. Court documents say McClarty had sole control of the booster club's bank account and made multiple unauthorized purchases and transactions, including nearly $1,100 for dental work. She's expected to appear in court next in April.